Okay, the name of the topic, the lecture per se, is the name of a book. It's the name of a book from Andy Lewis, Andre Lewis, psychographic by Chico Xavier. So those are basically the reference for tonight. Of course, the main focus will be the Spirits book. And we do have two other very interesting books that we're going to make lots of reference. All right, so first of all, we like to bring to you the perspective of a man who came with a huge mission. Allan Kardec is the person who put together all the information that we know today as the Spiritist thought, Spiritism per se. And he states that spirit life models physical life, and he presents the same variations on a smaller scale. So basically, the spirit world are almost, I would say, a copy of the physical world, or better say, the other way around. So our material world or physical world, considering the dimensions that are very close, spiritual dimensions that are very close to Earth, are basically a copy, imperfect copy of the things that already exist in the spirit world. And I would like to bring to you actually someone who is considered a precursor of Spiritism. He lived a few decades before Allan Kardec. He's a Swedish scientist and inventor. Swedenborg is truly one of the big minds of the 19th century. And he was also a medium. He was a scientist, inventor, philosopher, but he was also a medium. And from his spiritual experiences, who truly changed his life and changed actually the direction of his works. He left physical science, the world of physical science, to deal basically with the world of spiritual science, if you can call it that way. And from his personal experiences, meaning his spiritual travels, incursions into the spirit world, he really, actually that happened not in a trance, but during sleep, when he really visited different places. When he came back, when he woke up, he would remember things to the detail, to the minimum detail, and that became the basis of many of books that he wrote to us. And he said, before Kardec came with his works, that the universe consists of many worlds of different levels of luminosity, meaning evolution and happiness. After death, we will inhabit the worlds that correspond to our level of spiritual development. What that means? That means that in this world we live in, the good is mixed to the bad, the just with the unjust, we are all living together. The ones who are really dedicating themselves to a cause, and the ones that are cold-hearted, indifferent to others. So here we all mixed. The same does not happen in the spirit world. There is the level of affinities, is the worlds of affinities. You and I will live in the spiritual dimension that is truly the equivalent to our brains and hearts are, what we are. So we will be living in the spiritual dimension that is equivalent to our level of evolution, in other words. Lisa, are you okay? You following me so far? Is everybody okay? Okay, great. All right, so let's keep going. All right, so I'm going to keep checking on you from see if you're paying attention, because I'm a teacher. Anyways, after death, when we arrive in the world of spirits, this is Swedenborg saying, we are put in touch with people who love the same things we do. So basically, answer to the law of affinities. And all right, so if we're going to be living in the world that will be equivalent to people who made similar choices, who kind of think and feel this very similar ways, who are interested in the same goals, how about the children? They didn't have the time to make choices. They didn't have the time to develop and perceive the world. So what about them? And Allan Kardec was very preoccupied with this topic. And there are many questions and answers in the Spirit's book about the destiny of children in the spirit world. So here, Kardec, I don't know, for those who are not really familiar with the Spirit's book, is basically deep philosophy, very easy to understand in questions and answers. So one question is, what happens to a child who dies young? So Allan Kardec asked the spirits, the superior spirits through mediums, and the answer was, it restarts a new existence. What happens to a child who passes really young? So we're going to comprehend a little better what that means. So here we have, I think a question that so many people put their minds, mainly those who went through this indescribable experience. So why? Why they go so early? Why? This is a question that, for those who have gone through the experience, still, even if it happened years ago, decades ago, you're still asking, why? So the mentors do tell us that the short-lived life of a child may be a complement to a previous existence interrupted before its intended end. So, of course, I will not be able to explore the answer, as you can, I believe you can infer what means a life being interrupted by the person's own choice before the intended end. So that's one of the main reasons a life is, a child goes to the spirit world so young. So it's basically like 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. So those are the allotted time that child's supposed to live in the previous life, and it didn't by his or her own choice. Another perspective of this experience is for the parents, because in addition to that, the child's passing is often a trial to the parents. And I prefer, today is not the day to explore that kind of atonement either. But I can say there is nothing by chance in the plans of God. And we are all intertwined with each other. And through the perspective that we will grow, we will evolve, and together we all can learn, even through very, very dramatic experiences. So, the question also comes, right? If spirit life models physical life, like Allan Kardec said in the very beginning, and it presents the same variations of a smaller scale, we can conclude, if everything is kind of similar to here, so we can conclude there are children in the spirit world. Really, children as we know it. So, children in the spirit world. I thought they all became spirits and become grown up all of a sudden, just like that. But we also going to learn through Spiritism there are no jumps in evolution. There are no jumps in life. Everything goes into a beautiful flow. And that's why there are children, as we know it, in the spirit world. So let's see what happens to them, right? Because that's the next question. Where they would be, right? If the children are there, where are they? Who takes care of them? Where do they live? How they live? Where? How? With whom? Right? So what happens next? They stay as children forever? So those are really very important questions. So the very first answer for these inquirers of the mind and of the heart, because if a friend of yours, if a relative of yours go through the experience that I do not rather give adjectives because of our little ones here, if those who go through the experience and you know them and they do seek your actually the comfort of your knowledge, because you know that you have some interest in the things of the spirit world, or you are a spiritist and they know that, they will ask you, how is my child? Where is he? Where is she? Who is taking care of my baby? So these are the questions, not of the brain or not of the mind, but of the heart. And we are so blessed because there is so much information. There is so much we know nowadays after Kardec. Because Allan Kardec brought us, let's say, information. And the other mediums that came after them, very respectable mediums that we really can say those are very reliable sources. They will tell us in detail some aspects of our children in the spirit world. And the very first one is this. When the child leaves the body, they are greeted by loving hands. They are not thrown to the oblivion. They are not flying around. They are not lost. They are not scared. They are really embraced by loving hands. And whose hands are these? Give me an idea. Who would be greeting your child right up front? Give me an idea.
Grandparents that have already passed.
All right. If the grandparents, and I heard something, a little hand over there. All right. So grandparents are a good possibility if, listen to this, if they are already evolved spirits. If they are balanced individuals in the spirit world, they are the ones who will be there taking care of your child. If the grandparents cannot be there, maybe an aunt or a cousin or a brother, a sister, maybe a close friend. And if none of your friends or relatives are already in the spirit world, there are still people that we don't know, that is part of our family. The only difference is that they have not reincarnated yet, and we don't know them. So those are the ones who are there receiving the child, your child, with the most amazing love. And the child is feeling safe, feeling secure, and gives you the comfort to know your child is being taken care of. So, in case, like we said, in case nobody has been gone through the big trip, going to the spirit world, we all here still, even the grandparents, like we said, all children are protected, embracing, taken care by benevolent spirits. Benevolent spirits. All right, so I don't know how much you know about the life in the spirit world, but everything is up there, right? Meaning in the other dimension. There are wonderful places, but there are not so wonderful places. In Spiritism, we can refer to them as lower zones. And I can assure you, no child is in the lower zones. They don't even go past close to it. No child is in darkness. None. Okay? None. They are all taken immediately to higher dimensions of life. Beautiful dimensions, beautiful places. So this is some peace of mind as well. So children will not go through any type of suffering in the spirit world. None. Zero. And then you might think, well, the child is not going to miss the parents. Well, of course, depends how old will be the child by the time it goes. But we also going to be hearing that even those who will adapt much sooner than you can possibly imagine, and most likely the child will be adapt to the spirit world much sooner than we are adapt to the new life without them around. So, all right. A child is a spirit is still wrapped in the clothes of matter, right? Enveloped, swallowing in the clothes of matter. So, until it has been completed, freed from its body, may display childlike characteristics. Meaning, if the child passes as a child, that's how it's going to be in the spirit world. It's interesting that the information is actually in the medium's book. Because of the perispirit does not develop all of a sudden. It's not transformed just by just the simple fact that we are in the spirit world. So the child, again, like we said in the very first beginning, will be just like a child with the molding. The perispirit, what is the perispirit? The spiritual body will be looking like a baby, a toddler, a young child, or older. So now we're going to go through a beautiful road of news of the spirit world. The very first book that brings us the information that there are children in the spirit world is this one, which is the second book brought to us by the very famous medium, Chico Xavier, the most prolific medium in the world, who basically didn't have not even completed elementary school. He just knew how to write basically and read. And one of the evidence of his mediumship is the diversity of types of words he brought to us through automatic writing. We're talking about almost 500 books, scientific works, philosophical works, novels, chronicles, poetry. It's amazing. Even information, scientific information that was not known around the middle of the last century. Oh, we're already referring to the 20th century as the last century. Is that crazy? Well, whoa and wow. So there was pieces of information, and I'm going apart a little bit because then will be as clear and very, very strong evidence of his mediumship. He starts saying, for example, things like the cellular reproduction, that the the source of the reproduction was not in the nucleus like was believed in the mid, 1950s, 60s, and even 70s. We know today that the source of the cellular reproduction is in the cytoplasm. And when Chico Xavier brought the works of this physician, which is, his name is Andy Lewis, as you will. Andy Lewis says, the source of the cellular reproduction is in the cytoplasm. The physicians, the medical community in Brazil at that time went to Chico Xavier. Do not embarrass us, for God's sake. You just wrote an absurd. This is a complete this is an error, a scientific error. No, it's in the nucleus. And please talk to the physician, the spirit physician, and Andy Lewis, and please ask him to change this. He said, hold on. So he spoke to the spirit, and the spirit said, no. Keep it cytoplasm. Decades later, this is just one piece of information. This is one of the revelations that decades later, science has discovered the cytoplasm is the source of a cellular reproduction. So this is just one example. He gave us examples of quantum physics and so forth. So a man who could hardly read, bringing true scientific revelations. And why am I saying this? Because this is the second book he writes through automatic writing, psychography, through the process of psychography. And this is a book that's actually his mother brought information. She was a very evolved spirit, and after the time acclimating in the spirit world, she started traveling and getting information. And she said, "There are children here, Chico." She goes, "There are children, and they actually there are places, institutions, there are schools here, hospitals." So she started giving us information about the spirit world. So this is the very first time we heard about children in the spirit world. And in the book, there is this phrase that is very similar to the statement that Swedenborg has given to us in one of his books, like 1 century before she wrote the book. So very, very similar to the very statement that I brought to you in the beginning. So how you doing there? All right, good? All right, can we go on? All right, so from here on end is really interesting. So maybe less me speaking and the pictures will talk louder. So that's the very first beautiful information. She says there are birds, animals, houses, men, women, children, people gathering families. They go to school, to all kinds of institutions. Kindred souls gravitate toward each other spontaneously through the purest links of the heart, through pure affinity. And there is another book. This is actually a very wealthy businessman in Brazil. All this information came, as you know, Spiritism was born in France and developed in Brazil. So that's why we bring so much information here. And I've been living here for about 30 years. And when I arrived in the States, there was about 10, 12 books translated into English. And now we have hundreds of Spiritist literature originally written in Portuguese. So that's why we hear so many of us talking about with examples of things from Brazil, because Spiritism has developed there. This book has not yet translated into English. And this brings the story of a man who actually, as a business person, traveled to the States at that time and met Thomas Edison. Look at how interesting. Thomas Edison. And he was marveled with Thomas Edison's invention. And one of the inventions, the vinyl record, he brought the vinyl record, the technology of the vinyl record. The kids don't even know what we're talking about. Look like foreign technology from another galaxy. Okay, the vinyl record. Some of you probably don't even know. Let's see. Well, I see some young people here. But people that is just young as me, we in our childhood saw the vinyl record. It's a really dinosaur, beautiful, but played sounds and music. So this man, his name is, we know him as Imai. No, it's Figner. Frederick, thank you. Frederick Figner, his name. He brought the technology of the vinyl record to Brazil and actually opened a business called Edison Houses, business houses. So it's something similar to. So it's very interesting that he truly met Thomas Edison. And as a very successful man, he ended up, through many different types of experiences, that's on the point now, he became a spiritist and really involved with the spiritist movement. And he opened a huge publisher. And he ended up becoming friends with Chico Xavier. Said, well, we're going to have your books, and we're going to publish your books and through the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. He became one of the boards of the Spiritist Federation in Brazil. And he said to Chico Xavier, when I pass, I'm going to, through you, I'm going to tell everything that I see in the spirit world. And this is a moment that he is with that enlightened spirit next to him, next to Chico, is Emmanuel, is Chico Xavier, is spirit mentor, and responsible to all the literature he brought. And this is Mr. Frederick, next to his mentor, really upset. Okay, I'm here in the spirit, Chico. I want to tell all the story. And Chico cannot get connected with him. And he started, look at his face. He's really upset. It's like, how come I cannot bring the information? And then his mentor said, it's going to take time. You need to learn many more things besides all the business knowledge you have from your previous experience. You're going to need to learn to connect with the medium. When he finally does, he wrote this book called, if I were to translate, I'd say, I return, the return, with all the stories. And why I'm going around all this story to explain to you in this book, there is this story. In all the places he visit, he talks about the spark is one of the places, one of the institutions he visited. Mr. Frederick visit, and he says this park is called Park of Repose, Park of Renew, of Rest. And here, this park is there are institutions here only devoted to children, and mainly children between 7 and 12. And here they go to school, they learn a bunch of things, they are really getting acclimated with the spirit world. They seem really, they are getting used to, and they are happy here. That's what I see. Children playing around, in the playgrounds, and the place is just absolutely beautiful. And there is a part of this park, or this institution, if you would say. Actually, there are several schools and hospitals and institutions in this place. There is a part that it takes care only of babies. The babies, yes. The babies are taken to this other place, and here they are isolated from all types of vibrations, because babies have not developed like a spiritual body strong enough to handle the PAIN of the parents that affect them tremendously. So we need to involve them and isolate them so they can be protected, especially. And the children get distracted, they see other children, they play around, so they get acclimated faster, but the babies are very vulnerable, so they are isolated and protected. This is, how are you going to say that you're not going to feel the process of the departure of a little one? How are you going to tell a parent? Don't cry forever. The PAIN is there, tremendously indescribable. But if there is a comfort possible to be said, if there is any comfort, at least you know the child is in loving hands. So now he goes to another place and visit this place that is called, actually in the book it's called the Home of Blessing. But here, I just don't like one blessing, so I call the place the Home of Blessings, okay? Just the name I gave to the place, okay? I like many blessings. Do you like many blessings? I think you do. Ask the person next to you, do you like many blessings? Come on, let's see. Let's talk to each other. I think everybody does, right? And this actually... this is a part. I forgot to mention this. If in the first book, we had with that Chico's mother said, "Oh, there are children here." So I mentioned to you the first book that talked about children in the spirit world was the second book he wrote. This book by Mr. Frederick was the very first book that talked specifically about cities in the spiritual world. We call them colonies, spiritual colonies. And there are big colonies, small colonies, medium-sized colonies. And in this spiritual colony that Mr. Frederick was living, his pen name in the book is Brother Jacob. In this place, he says, it is a part of this colony, this spiritual colony. We're talking about the spiritual world. Okay, a part of this colony where children are taken care by loving spirits in real homes. So now there is a different part of the colony that we are not talking about institutions. Some children are taken by families and living in real homes, probably relatives, friends. And they are getting ready for new reincarnations. Remember the very first beginning, Kardec said, okay, they are up to get a new existence when they depart to the spirit world. Yeah, they depart to the spirit world, they stay there for a while, but most of the children who depart in our lifetime, they return in the same generation. It's very common for them to reincarnate in the same family. Very, very common. Isn't that interesting? So, over those institutions, they receive all kinds of information, all kinds of education, intellectual and moral information, education, so they can get ready for their new existence. So the second child might be the first one who left. Sometimes they come back as a child, or the parents who lost a child. Sometimes the parents are older, so they might come back as a niece, as a nephew, as a grandchild, but they stay in the same family usually. So everybody's thinking about, oh, I know that. Okay, who is that one? Okay. Yeah, it might be the same. It might be the same loved one who departed so early. And this is another part of another experience Mr. Frederick had in the same spiritual colony that he was living in. Actually, at the very moment he arrived at the colony, when he did his passing, and there was a group of people that were taken to, oh, lucky them, right? So we hopefully, we're gonna have people together with us, going to a place like that, right? Straight boom. And then we have the mentor in the case, most of you don't know who I'm talking about, but the spirit who was leading this group that had recently passed, and they arrive in the spiritual colony. His name is Bezerra de Menezes. And in this group, there was a very enlightened person. Was a teacher, as a matter of fact. And she arrives and she's greeted. Imagine that. Imagine the scene. I can imagine the scene. She's greeted by her children who passed before her when she was still a teacher. And these children are completely acclimated in the spirit world to the point they have learned to fly. Yeah, because in the spirit world, we transport ourselves through the thought process. So you want to go to the Millennium Mall, you just think about it and you're there. For those who have not just be fast enough to go by through thought, you go flying. We call this process. It's no wings, though. There are no wings. It's just a process that we call volitation. And we just fluctuate and just move around through. Who directs is just your will, just the way our feet are directed by our own will in material world. So this is a beautiful scene. They come with the big lights to say, just greeting this wonderful and loving teacher. She was the only one in the group who had light in her spirit already. And this story of this book is so interesting because Jacob, Mr. Frederick, really did a lot of good, but he has not acquired light. He was a good man, but he was not enlightened. And to go through this story, how he was really upset in the spirit world. Where's my light? There's no light. And there was a moment in the story that is almost comical. He turns and see all the light in this teacher, all the aura, beautiful, brilliant. And then he really get envious. And then he gets dark. Oh, gosh. Well, here we kind of put a mask, right? We are jealous or envy. Nobody can tell. But in the spirit world, you get darker. Anyways, so this colony takes care, to finish this part, this colony takes care of many children between 7 and 12, like I said. And after getting acclimated, these children are educated intellectually and mainly in ethical not mainly, but also ethical values, mainly based in Jesus' teachings. Many will grow, the pure spirit develops, mainly will grow and develop and mature, yet, and stay in the spirit world, we're gonna get there in a minute, yet most of them go back to earth, usually reincarnating in the same family. And this is a piece of news for the heart. Yes, it is, some level of comfort. All right, who takes care of these children? Mainly are women, actually. Men too, but mainly are women. Women who are relearning motherhood. Women who have not succeeded as mothers in the previous life. So now they are learning to be mothers. So they are taking care of other mothers' children with all the heart, with all their heart. And other women are the ones who departure early, and they were the ones who are in the spirit world, and the children, we stayed back in the material world. By the way, the children disappeared. What are they? I wonder, what are they? The door is open. I'm sorry, it's closed. I'm worried about them. Do we have somebody with them?
Volunteer to just watch them.
Okay, good, because they cannot be left alone.
They were
Not here, neither in the spirit world.
They were wandering around, but we got them together.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna ask them. I'm gonna quiz them in that. So this is beautiful, right? So those who are relearning to become mothers and loving mothers, and when they return into this reincarnation, and we're in the very end, another 5 minutes stops. And the ones who have departed before their children, they are taking care of other people's children, redirecting all that loving energy in their hearts, really helping them still to be in touch with children. And here is the part that I only have one here of younger, so you will not understand what I'm talking about anyway. But anyways, this is another book who does mention the fact how much the children can be affected by the PAIN of the family. If they are older, really say, "Oh, what are you asking me? Not to SUFFER." I didn't say that. There is a time of mourning. There is a place for mourning. But with this understanding, you could open your heart to this perspective that there is, the Creator has put laws in place for our involvements. And sometimes it's through tribulations of this dramatic level. And it comes to a time after the shock, and psychology says it usually takes about 2 years for the person, for the parents, for the family to get used to that person that is not physically around. It takes about 2 years for you to get used to the absence of the physical presence of someone you love. But it comes to a point that you should start thinking about, not only about your PAIN, but the effects of these emotions in your children in the spirit world. If it is not too much to ask, I believe it's too much to ask. But try to help them to get acclimated there. Maybe they can return to your arms sooner than later. So from this very book, the same book, show the children really happy there, really acclimated, moving around. They are just, well, they forgot me. No, they just see, they process these feelings in a different way. And they are well. Maybe that will give you some hope to be also well and going on, knowing that there are other people around you that depend on you. And the assurance that they are well, it might help you. And almost finally, there is another information that I thought was very curious. In these colonies, the children that are more mature, just like here, we see children that are really with a different level of perception of life, even. And so they are the older children that are more evolved. They help the other children to get acclimated too. And finally, when the child is free of matter, it enjoys its spirit faculties, for spirits have no age, which proves that the spirit of a child has already lived before. So there are children, they actually so evolved that they come spiritually evolved, I mean. So they become adults in the spiritual world just like that. So the more spiritually mature, the more evolved is the spirit. If that spirit discarnates at a young age in the spirit world, they really become, they regain their conscience very quickly, and they portray themselves as adult almost, some of them almost immediately. So can you visit your child in the spirit world? Yes, you can. During the time you sleep, your spiritual body flies away from the body. Is your perispirit may visit your child in the spiritual colonies, in the spiritual dimensions. And this book, Between Heaven and Earth, there are accounts of several experience of mothers visiting children in the spirit world. And they visit their children while the body is asleep. This mother could visit her child in the spirit world. And I cannot describe the happiness, the true happiness in the spirit world. And here we meet our loved ones in the spirit world. Our children, our loved ones, our parents, grandparents, our friends, our beloved children don't ever die. They just live before we do. So they are much better than you can possibly think. They are not suffering. And they are in the loving hands of the one who loved the children the most. So he will be taking care of your child until you arrive. Thank you very much for your attention today, and God bless those who go through these trials. Thank you again.